It truly is. You're watching Empowerment Hour on our Facebook page, Rampa Clinic School, no problem. Or you're joined in on Kofifi FM 97.2, where it all began. We are with the principal and educational psychologist of Vuleka Assisted Learning Center, and we're discussing some barriers to learning, as well as finding out a bit more about our schools. So, just before we get into our questions, we do have an online question that I'm just going to ask real quick. The online question reads, what is the difference between what is the difference between a school such as Vuleka and Randburg Clinic School? Thank you, Memory, for that question. I don't know if you'd like to answer or can I?
You're welcome to answer, but I'm happy to
Go
say,
for it.
as far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
Randburg Clinic School is for children who are on the autistic spectrum or have severe behavioural disorder.
Yes.
We would not have any children with a severe behavioural disorder, but we do have some children who are on the autistic spectrum who are higher functioning.
Yes.
And therefore they're able to cope with the academic situation. Some of them have communication difficulties, so having the speech therapist is a huge help for them. They're getting that reinforcement all the time. Plus, the smaller environment, it's less scary to take the risk of speaking. Anyway, and we also have children who have mild intellectual disabilities, and some children who potentially mainstream ability. However, due to ADHD or language barriers, which we mentioned before, they are in our school.
Okay.
So there's a wide spectrum of abilities in our school.
So major differences between our school, but one thing that remains the same is we are both LSEN schools. We are here for learners with special education. The child is still the child. They are not their diagnosis. Yes, and I think online we're moving. Okay, I'm speaking on my side. I've noticed recently that it's no longer my autistic child. It is not my child with autism. Because autism is not who they are. It's just a diagnosis that they have. And I think it works similarly with you guys.
Yeah, very, very much so. So a number of our children, because of the barrier to learning that is around language, will test as having dyslexia.
Yes.
If we can work well enough sort of to support them through the linking of the sounds to the letters, that dyslexia diagnosis might go away.
Yes.
But we know that dyslexia is a neurodevelopmental thing in the same way that autism is, and maybe the brain is going to continue functioning differently for the whole of that child's life. But I keep telling children and parents that you've got really, really super successful people like Richard Branson who have dyslexia, and they are managing perfectly well because they've learned strategies, and the children have to learn strategies to manage.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you have these programs that you implement. What is it that you as a school do to develop your teachers? What are you offering them? How do you keep them on top of things? How are they always knowing what next? How do I implement this? What am I lacking? How can I get better? What do you offer them?
Absolutely. As a group of schools, almost every term, at the beginning of the term, we have our workshop, which are hosted by our executive head. But sometimes we invite people from outside. And we also part of LSEN schools for independent schools. I just shared one workshop that we're going to have at Crossroads School, which is not far from our school. There's also Salet that we also attend their workshops, and
And also the other things that come up. So we get told as part of ISASA when they are doing something. So 2 years ago, really now, they had a whole thing on counselling and support of children in the classroom. So we go on those kind of outings. Well, they're not really outings, they're learning experiences. And then we also have, during our regular staff meetings, every now and again we'll have a education slot, so to speak, where the one time I was teaching the teachers about dyslexia and how I actually taught them how to use a particular assessment tool, which is allowed for teachers to use. And so far, none of them have had the courage to do it, but they did all try during the lesson. And but more importantly, it's helped them to understand more about dyslexia, because when you go through the different subtests, you see, wow, there's lots of different areas that can be affected.
So we discussed your school being for mild intellectual disorders, or Vuleka Assisted Learning Center being for mild intellectual disorders, and how it bridges the gap between schools that have severe intellectual disorders as well as mainstream schooling. And you've also mentioned that a lot of your kids come from mainstream schooling. Do any of your kids go back into mainstream schooling?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
So 2 years ago, over 50% of our grade 7 class mainstreamed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think
Well
well
That's
done.
very good.
Yeah,
Well done.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that it's not a formula. So we don't say we need to send 50%. If in a particular year group there are only 30% that can mainstream, then that's 30% that goes to mainstream. Sorry. So we also have to carefully manage the parents' expectations. And that's where Sir Peter's really good. We do the assessment and we provide the feedback to the parents, because before they leave us, especially if they're going into either technical high school or a remedial high school that is run by the department, those assessments have to be in place.
Yes.
So that they can then realise this child actually can manage in a remedial environment. So for some of our children, intellectually, they are stronger. They're not mild intellectual disability, but they have a specific area of concern. Whether it's the dyslexia or maybe it's a vision problem, etc., and they need that remedial environment to help them actually get a matric. So the remedial environment will give the children a chance to get a matric, and the technical environment will give their children a chance to get an NQF.
NQF.
Yeah. I couldn't think of the last letter.
Yeah.
Yes. So they'll get an NQF qualification at the
So
end.
you speak of like transferring them into mainstream in terms of like the high school. Is there any opportunity for them to go from Vuleka Assisted Learning Center to Vuleka, Rosebank?
That's what we do. Yeah, actually, that's what we do.
So at the end of last year, one of our little grade 2s went to one of our mainstream schools because within a year and a half she had closed whatever gaps were there and was able to manage in the mainstream environment.
Actually, I'll check some messages, because what we do, I always keep in touch with the parents, just asking them how the child is doing, and they will then send the message. I'll just quickly scroll and then share with you. But also what happened at the beginning of the year, just immediately after matric results, then I just got a message from a parent of one of the kids we taught some years ago. So the child went back to mainstream, and guess what? They got 3 A's distinctions.
Wow.
And the parent just sent me a message and say, your daughter has done, this is what they got, and then just sent, was so happy, that we helped the child. So I have the message. Hopefully I will also share it with you.
While
And
Naz
then-
asks the next question, why don't you find the little message for us while Naz
I will
asks?
do that.
So my next question for you is, as much as you have these learners, and obviously at our school we talk about the ASD learners and our severe behavior, and we encounter certain things. Do the kids you teach, or the kids at your school, do they have meltdowns? If they do, what are they like, and what do you do to manage them?
Okay, so it's very rare. It's very rare because of the particular environment that is in place. But generally what will happen is the teacher will go out with the child, remove them from the situation that's causing the problem, and give them a chance to quieten down and try and talk through what actually made it happen, so that she can then monitor if that other child or that other situation is coming up again, to then be right next to the child to provide them support so that they don't have another meltdown. But it is very rare. I'm actually surprised, because the number of children that we have that have got an ASD diagnosis, autistic spectrum disorder, and yet there's none of the sort of the meltdown, the chaos that can happen when a child is feeling very threatened. Because a child on the spectrum is easily feels threatened by other children's behaviour or a circumstance. So doesn't seem to be happening a lot with us, and we'll have to monitor and see going forward, because this year I think we've had the most autistic spectrum children that we've ever had coming in the junior years.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So you say you mentioned the kids on the autistic spectrum, but I want to ask you, with that, because they struggle to give reason, when you have this conversation, what is it? Can you give me some insight of what they would say?
Okay, no, because they are not.
Yes.
I have not been involved. I've just seen it
Okay.
happening. Okay, but the big thing we've actually taught the teachers to teach the children is breathing,
Okay.
because that whole sense of reducing the internal adrenaline flood that causes that outburst.
Yes.
It's that box breathing is really, really important. And I tell the children, when we start learning it, we have to count quite fast.
Okay.
We have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, down 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. And then I tell them that it's during the hold time that you're telling your body it's okay to relax. And so then we slowly slow down the count, and we breathe in and we hold, and we breathe out and we hold. And so, and I even taught the teachers. They said they were benefiting from that as well.
So you're just talking about breathing, and yes, I agree. Breathing is such an important tool when it comes to calming a child down.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never taught box breathing, but what I used to do is sniff the flower, blow
Yeah.
the candle, sniff the flower, blow the
Okay,
candle.
yes, yeah.
So again, there are multiple different methods to dealing with things. We're so thankful for you guys joining us today. Have you found it?
Yes, but now I found one of the kids that we sent to one of our Vuleka schools.
Mm-hmm.
So this was just a conversation, if you can just read it.
Should I read it out loud?
Good morning, Sir Peter. You don't have to read the name of the
Okay.
child.
Good morning, Sir Peter. I would like to thank you, the school, and the teachers for all the work, guidance, love, and dedication you have put into child's name, life. The child is progressing well in the mainstream school and has averaged a 6 for the term. That is
Wonderful.
very, very
Yeah,
commendable.
yeah.
So the one who went to high school, unfortunately, this message time as well.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
cannot get
Oh,
it.
couldn't get it back, yeah.
So, yeah.
But I would like to thank you guys so much for coming in today, sharing a bit with us, and just, again, exchanging a bit of knowledge. I hope our parents have learned something, and if anybody from Vuleka is watching, we haven't forgotten you. Tech team has informed me that a winner has been selected. So,
Drum roll.
drum roll. And our winner is Nomasanto Nyanga. So, Nomasanto, we will be telling you by a message how to get in contact with Vuleka and how to acquire your shirt. Thank you guys so much for playing with us. And before we let you guys go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I don't know. But, to our parents, I think most of them, have been watching. All I can say from my side is we value you. Thank you for supporting the school. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and thank you guys, the Team Vuleka,
Yes.
all the schools, but especially Team ALC.
ALC.
Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
It has been a true pleasure to interview you guys. And to our viewers, we will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Breathe.